Well, hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome back here to Maconi Entertainment, and welcome back to the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series. This is race number 17 of the season, coming to you tonight from Atlanta Motor Speedway. Yes, I won't call it Echo Park until they give me some money to do so. My name is Ron Mullins, and alongside me, working the comms and the cams with me on tonight's broadcast is Howie Burrows. Well, Howie, we're here at Atlanta, the refreshed version of Atlanta as well. Got that brand new pit entry, which is certainly going to be a curveball, but Atlanta, just as it is in this current configuration, is not a track that you could take lying down.
It certainly is an unusual one, Ron. Really ultra smooth in a way that isn't even quite in real life. Our little baby super speedway often produces chaos and calamity. I don't think today is going to be any different. Dropped into this race quite late, so I'm afraid we're going to have to do a starting grid pretty quickly for you if you're at all comfortable with that.
I mean, hey, at this point, this is my third show already today. So, hey, let's crack our knuckles, get a look at the starting grid for this race where we're expecting some chaos, expecting some drama, and expecting a whole lot of fun tonight as well. Austin Evie in the 3-car will actually start this race from the pole. Alongside him will be Charles Velasquez Jr. Lucas Hoytsma will start this race in third alongside the number 68 of Noah Woods. In P number 5 will be Bryson Exenball. In P6 will be Cameron Stone. P7 and P8 on your fourth row will be Hunter Trull and Matthew Boston Wheeler. Mason Lowry will start this race in ninth with Joseph McWhorter rounding out your top 10.
A good old full grid as ever. Clayton Davis sits 11th next to Timothy Cook Jr. in 12th. Nathaniel Pollard in 13th next to Daniel Llewellyn in front of Michael Deitch, Ralph Hutchinson, Kirk Mills from Maconi Entertainment, and Tanner Martin. In 19th and 20th it's Cliff Mullins and Michael Patrick as we head towards the back of the grid.
And then looking outside of the top 20 is Tim Phillips and Jason S. Taylor starting this race in 21st and 22nd. Steve Benjamin, Cody Bird in 23rd and 24th. And then looking right behind them, rounding out your field, we've got Ken Ron and Brian Workman starting this race on the 13th row. And Rory Collins starting this race in last, P27. In this race where we're expecting some drama. This is the first track that we've had up to this point in the season, I believe, where we're going to it for the second time. Atlanta race numero 2 ran here for race number 2 of this season all the way back in February, where Ryan Strunk was able to grab his first and so far only win up to this point in the season. Let's see who's going to be able to get the job done. Bryson Exenball off the back of 2 straight wins. Actually, no, not 2 straight wins. I haven't got my notes up to date, but he got 2 straight wins a couple of weeks ago, looking to keep that momentum rolling here, but really at Atlanta, there's no telling who's going to win.
163 laps of Atlanta with a stage at the end of 45 and 90. How many cautions? Over, under 50? We'll have to find out. This track often produces that sort of action in the Xfinity cars, and we're ready to go green.
Yeah, let's get this race up and rolling. Race number 17 of the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series. We have got a rather intriguing race on our hands this evening. Some drivers looking to impress, others looking to just get their firm footing underneath them as we head into the summer, as the green flag is out and we are racing here at Atlanta. It's a good run from both of our front row sitters. The 03 of Evie looking to get off to a good start on the inside line. The number 64, Charles Velasquez Jr. looking to get off to a flyer as well. Got a blinker a little bit farther in the back of the pack as they had their way down the backstretch for the very first time.
A long super speedway race could very much be a bit of a fuel saver for quite some time. They very often become that, especially in the Cup cars. The Xfinity cars get a bit more squirrely to the touch, and they can be a little bit more sensitive to wobbles and looseness around the track. But with the stage racing in play, you want to be near the top at the start of stages, but you want shorter pit stops than others, and I think there's going to be peace on earth for a while. Hell always finds a way to break loose eventually, though.
Oh, that it absolutely does. Hell can break loose regardless of the circumstances. Probably will at some point during this race. Have a long race in front of us here this evening on Maconi Entertainment. It is still rather close at the front of this field. It's plate racing. You can't really expect anything too different from that. This Atlanta Motor Speedway has really evolved over the past couple of years. First got this version of the track brought into real life back in 2022. 2022. And incidentally, the fine folks over at iRacing actually really made this sort of idea of a racetrack back when it was just a concept written on paper. They made it into a reality in the sim, put together, and that was part of the reason why they decided, you know what, screw it, we're going to go with this mini super speedway configuration based off how it ran in iRacing. They decided, you know what, we're going to go for it here for 2022. And here we are now. This track has undergone a massive evolution. I was tuning into Cup qualifying earlier on with Brad Keselowski talking about how different this track is now compared to how it was when it opened back in 2022 with this new configuration. And in the sim, those alterations haven't been exactly one-to-one, but even with this scan of the track, which looks quite a lot darker than the other one we've got in real life right now, it is still much different than what it was some moons ago. As here's Lucas Hoytsma being able to jump out from that bottom lane up to the top, and he's going to now be the Pied Piper of that top line.
This is an unusual iRacing track because, if I'm not wrong, this is the only track that actually isn't scanned. We're using the reference data that was used to build the speedway in real life, and so it's smoother than it was on day one, and now it's evolved significantly beyond that point. And we got an RTAP update for its new biblically accurate name, and I'll just tell you, always has been, so you can't go and it's been Echo Park as long as I've been born. In fact, always has been. But trust me, I'm a zoomer, so I would know. I've been watching since the beginning, of course. It is just a deeply, deeply unusual version of this track. It's very, very, very hard to run consistently with randoms, and really, it starts to become a bit crazy as it goes on. Anyway, this dog leg here, usually very, very much encouraged to cut in iRacing. There are strict rules in this league about passing below the yellow line. They're not going to allow it, and they're going to be stricter on it than anywhere else as ever. And of course, we do have the unusual pit lane entering at the entry of turn 3. So still a few tricks up this track's sleeves, but we're mostly going to see drivers run in these two lanes pretty safely for a while, trying to ride out the stage, I think.
Yeah, we're going to see these drivers just take it easy throughout this race. You know, I mentioned earlier on during this broadcast, right before we grabbed the green in this race, how important it is to hit the ground running here for this summer. We are into a very long stretch from this season, not going to have a week off until the middle of August, right knocking on the door of the end of the regular season at the start of the playoffs. These drivers really need to go about this point of the season as methodically as they can. They need to treat this like the marathon it is, the ultra marathon that it is, really. If you treat it like race after race and just attack every single race like there's no tomorrow, you're going to find yourself in a real hole if you end up running into some poor luck, which here in Atlanta, I mean, it's plate racing again. You can't really expect a race to be 100% smooth. You could be the best race car driver in the world. You could put prime 2023 midway through just tearing it up in Formula One. You could put Max Verstappen in a NASCAR stock car on a plate race, and it's not a guarantee that he's going to win. That's part of the reason why when people are filling out their cup in-season tournament graphs, their brackets, there we go, the name got to me eventually. When they were filling that out a couple of weeks ago, nobody could really fill out anybody of note because you just can't predict how these plate races go. That's Hixenball abandoning the 03 of Austin Evie to jump up in front of the number 97 of Hoytsma to now be the Pied Piper of that top side.
I'm hoping my car's rented in, by the way. We're on a very, very, very quick turnaround from Fast Fridays, as goes the last Friday of the month. Quite frankly, getting both shows up on the air is a miracle, but maybe some drivers are also running different designs out here. That 63 looking very, very different than usual. Typically in the orange, now it's in the septic service design, which sure has some colours to it.
Yeah, that it certainly does. That is a interesting looking race car. Septic service. Not touching that one. We got a lapped car that may affect this battle a little bit that we've got going on right now. Leading your inside line is still the 03 of Austin Evie. A rather good start must be said though for the number 71 of Hunter Truel. He's running pretty good right now. Slotted in P2 of those cars on the bottom lane, swapping out with Bryson Hixenball for P2 in this race. As Hixenball may be able to jump into the race lead here in a couple of moments' time. See if anybody can make that high side work. That's the thing with Atlanta. As much as you've got a rather dominant nature of this track, you can still run that inside line and be rather golden. We'll say the last time by Hixenball actually able to lead that lap. So starting to try and take advantage of those runs that he gets on the top side.
This track, of course, has a very unusual character compared to super speedways because they stuck one in 1.5 miles. So these corners significantly more banked and significantly tighter. Hardly the room to go 3 wide, not just out of fear, and Daytona's big, but 3 wide is sort of a rarity in iRacing, but just because you're going to get thrown against that wall. It'll happen when people get desperate. But I think that's going to kick off near the end of some of these later stages. We could see Rex in these first 2 stages due to mistakes. It's very easy to make a little error around someone, push them the wrong way and sort of send them tumbling. But we're not going to see anyone who has a brain make a dive of the century quite this early. The gloves come off when the checkered flag flies, but we are some time away from that checkered flag. If we went fully green, it would be 1 hour 20, although we obviously will not be going fully green due to the stages. First one in 30 laps time.
Yeah, and incidentally, talking about how these races can occasionally turn into bare-knuckle fist fights right towards the end, we saw that could put on full display 1 week ago in the series when they rocked up to Pocono, and rather interesting developments from all of that. But the number 73, Joseph McWhorter, was able to walk away with his first race win of this season. He was already rather solidly locked into the playoffs, but was able to get it done with a rather interesting end to that race, to be sure. Some moves that I can't necessarily fault him for after being raced pretty much all the way down to the apron heading down the start-finish stretch at Pocono last time out. But hey, that's in our rearview mirror for now. We look ahead to this race at Atlanta, and he's right up at the front yet again, currently slotted on that 3rd row. You can see he's side by side with the number 42 of Mason Lowry. Let's see what he'll be able to work. Currently running P3 of those racers on the top side, which, let's face it, is a lane that is slowly but surely starting to fade out, and it fades out yet again as Hixenball going to jump to the inside.
By the way, a good number of post-race penalties coming out of Pocono last week. Race suspensions for Kyle Amon for 3 at-fault wrecks, as well as a post-race penalty for Eric Wineland. That's why they're missing from the field today here at Pocono. We follow the rest of the Xfinity schedule for quite some time going forward, but it will be a very different character of track as we hit up the rough streets of Chicago. Always a joy to see how these cars attempt that one. That's going to be a very, very different day. I mean, isn't that something for the schedulers, just putting Atlanta next to Chicago?
Yeah, that is such an interesting blend of many things going on when he decides to go from probably the most intriguing oval of the schedule to the most intriguing road course of the schedule. I love the Chicago street course, though, probably because it's been rain racing, which I absolutely adore. Rain racing back when I was in my back when I was still in my karting days, and my dad used to call me a mudder, which to those who aren't aware is the term to describe a racehorse which runs particularly well in the rain. So he used to call me that, so I guess it was pretty accurate, because after those races, Dad used to feed me a sugar cube to keep me going. But right now, we have got a rather deteriorating top line. The number 73 of Joseph McWhorter is still leading it at the moment. You can see right behind him that I believe, unless I'm very much mistaken, is a 57 of Cameron Stone in a very nice Coors Silver Bullet paint scheme. Always nice to see the Silver Bullet make its appearance every now and then. But that inside line is definitely king at the present moment. Huisma leading it over Hixenball in front of McWhorter. All 3 of those race cars were at one point on the bottom, but McWhorter has jumped up to the top. As we can see the post-quarter stuff between these drivers heading their way off through the section. Sorry there, Howie. I'm not sure if your mic was just completely muted there, or if it was just muted out to the show. I could not copy you there a couple of moments ago. But we take a look at these racers as they had their way through turns number 1 and 2, having a good moment, having a good time, and having a festive occasion here at Atlanta. Already on lap 22 now of this 163 lap long race. And it's going to be one that for some racers are going to be hoping that goes by in the blink of an eye. For others, they are going to hope that this race just drags on forever, end of day. Stage break's going to be coming in 45 lap increments, so lap 45, end of lap 45 for the end of stage 1, and end of lap 90 for stage number 2, as we run big time down to 3 and 4.
That's that's a big one. Let me put it like that. There's a good number of cars caught. Daniel Llewellyn here, Nathaniel Kirk Mills, Cody Bird, Noah Woods. Gonna take a while to try and work out what went down here. So let's try and break this down from a good number of angles and see if we can break it down. That was already when the wrecking was occurring. This is Noah Wood's car, who has a meatball flag, but I think it might have happened further up the road.
See him down the backstretch. The call before the contact being made with the 54.
Yeah, it starts with Pollard, so if we go back once more, we'll get a good angle of exactly what happened with that car. Back of this outside line. Goes into the back of the 54. At that point, it's an avoiding game for everybody. There's just carnage and devastation across the track. Woods taking the only meatball flag out from that one.
And like a pack of dominoes, down they all fall as they head their way through 3 and 4. Incidentally, I think the front bumper of that number 16 car, does it say yellow flag on the front of it? That's exactly what's been brought out as a result of that drama. Huge hits involving some of those racers a little bit farther up the road, really. Despite being at the epicenter of that drama, the number 54 probably had the smoothest run out of anybody when it came to that incident. But the first yellow coming out in this race comes about halfway through stage number 1 here at Atlanta. And with that being said, lap 24 right now, gotta be pushing lap 25 here in a couple of moments time. Pits are still closed, so going to have to wait a little bit before we get some potential pit stops here. Howie, do you think we will see these drivers come down pit lane? I have a feeling it's a bit too early for that.
It's going to be tricky. I mean, you might just want to top up for fuel. This isn't a very tire dependent track. That's sort of mad near the end of a run, but you're sort of putting everything you can in. So they're not taking it now, which sort of makes sense. They're going to try to do some fuel saving, obviously, at the front, and then do some fuel saving under caution. You probably can make this first stage, and tire life is not going to matter terribly much on a race where your sets are limited as well, of course, on top.
And as we are under this yellow, I think we should probably spare mention for the playoff standings heading into this 17th round of the championship. 16 already on the board. That race at Pocono shuffled things up a little bit with Joseph McWhorter, who was your highest ranked driver when it came to those locked in only on points and points alone, was able to punch his ticket into the playoffs. So only 2 drivers with multiple wins up to this point. Adam Benefiel, who was not racing with us here this evening, and Bryson Hickson, who has 6 wins up to this point in the championship. Incredible stuff from the driver there. Currently have 7 drivers locked into the playoffs, the last of those being Ryan Strunk, who was able to grab his 1 win of the season back at Atlanta all the way back in February. The drivers currently locked in on points, well, not locked in, currently to the green when it comes to points, are Hunter Truell 172 above the playoff cut line. You get the Jim Shoefield at 125, Eric Wineland at 105. Wineland not here tonight. He is one of those drivers serving a 1 race ban, so that may it may be a good thing that he has that sort of cushion. Kirk Mills, our Maconi Entertainment colleague, who you can catch on the full-length Cup Challenge broadcast on Saturday nights, currently slotted in P11. Mark Padgett 61 above Tim Phillips. Those 2, the first driver in the case of Padgett, the first driver out in the case of Tim Phillips. That's how it looks when it comes to the playoffs. But here we go, going back to green as we're back racing at Atlanta. Hoytsma getting off to a flyer. McWhorter gonna try and slip back in tow. He does that successfully. Then gonna be the 57 of Cameron Stone and the Silver Bullet holding on to that high side. Nope, he's gonna dip out of it. I think as soon as we got that yellow, it really sealed the fate of any drivers who are looking to try and run a high side. Everyone switching to the bottom.
That line might build when we run out of space there. There's not really space for every car to hit the bottom, but everybody wants to be on the far side of the track for now, so that's all they're going to do. It's going to be a little bit of peace on Earth. There's only a few stage points really in taking it. It's mostly about being in the right place at the right time. No fast repair for these drivers in the 17X disqualification, and we'll keep an eye on whether that matters, but it's worth knowing Noah Woods has taken lethal damage to that car. Steve Benjamin is 3 laps down on repairs. So is Nathaniel Pollard. So is Kent Rans out on the track. So it's those last 3, Pollard, Benjamin, and Woods, who I'd consider out of running.
Yeah, so already some casualties at this point of the race. 28 laps now on the board of this 163-lap-long affair. Getting to the end of this first stage here in a couple of moments' time. It may seem like a little while until we get to the end of lap 45, but hey, it's a plate race. Those laps that we've got right now can go by in the blink of an eye. But as the haze slowly builds here at Atlanta Motor Speedway, let's see who's going to be able to pick their way through the dust and the smoke and be able to grab this stage win. It's still a single file train all throughout this field, just getting to that point where you can really start to fight. For now, though, no point in really risking it, so I will raise attention to the car that we had on screen a couple of moments ago, the 57 of Cameron Stone. Here's a nice little interesting fun fact for you, Howie. Not sure how much you pay attention to IndyCar or the old history surrounding it. The last driver ever to run in a Coors Light IndyCar, unless I'm very much mistaken, was Scott Dixon in 2002, interestingly enough.
I don't even really know American beer brands. I don't even know our beer brands, quite frankly, and you're challenging me on American beer brands. I don't drink enough beer for that, let alone here, and when it comes, I know that some of them are iconic. I know some of the cars are iconic in America. And unfortunately, you got a British person on your NASCAR show again. So, I'm going to have to leave you hanging on that one.
Well, when it comes to American beers on the air, you've got, we nearly just saw the number 63 of Hixenball get turned at the front of the field. I was just going to say, in terms of talking about beers on a broadcast, you've got a British person who doesn't really drink a whole lot of beer, and then you've got somebody who is two things. First off, not a fan of consuming alcohol, and number 2, not of legal drinking age. So in terms of the beer discussion, I just want to bring it up for the paint schemes alone, but that was nearly a 57 car wrapped around the safer barrier as the 63 of Hixenball decided, you know what, even after that contact, I want you to be my drafting partner. They jump up to the high side. You know how I said that high side had completely disappeared? Well, I lied.
Well, you know what? I initially thought, no way he's not drinking age. And then I remembered that in America it's 21 and not 18. And I'm like, okay, it's possible then. Possible. Well, I might have been dealing with a 16-year-old Ron Miles and wondered quite how that one happened. So it makes sense now. It makes sense.
16-year-old me was too busy gouging my mouth out with food instead of being on the air.
Well, you live, you learn. I'm 28 and I still haven't learned any healthy habits. The Red Bull in front of me is disagreeing. I'll just say that. Pack's gone out up to the 13th place of Cody Bird, and then it's dropped off right behind.
As that's going on for you, the other glass of water I've got in my hand as a broadcaster is wondering what happened to 16-year-old me who would go through the entire day with drinking cans of soda. Alrighty, folks, before you hear about how much of a fat lord I was back in 2021, let's talk about this race here in 2025. We have got a whole lot of drivers covered by just about nothing at the front of the field. Coming to the end of the stage in about a single-digit amount of laps time, who's going to be able to get this move done? Will it be Hoytema and Hixenball, your current top-running drivers on both of our lanes, or is it going to be someone maybe like Joseph McWhorter? He broke the elbows out last time at Pocono. Let's see if he will potentially try and do something of the sorts here this evening. Cameron Stone, he's also looking to get involved in this battle as well. I will say, I don't think there's a lot to be gained in terms of fighting tooth and nail for the win in stage 1. Probably want to save the aggressive moves for later on in this race, but again, it's a plate race. You've got both ends of the spectrum. You've got, okay, let's take it easy. A lot of time left to go. I can fight for the win at any time. But also you've got the part of you that's like, if I end up getting wrecked, I just want to get some good points out of this, even if I end the night with a wrecked up race car.
No, but what's the difference between like 4th and 1st in stage points? I guess it's like enough that it could decide a championship position. But if you're wrecking over like 4 points, then I'm afraid you might have miscalculated. So that's where I'm going at with it, at least. I think with the wreck we've had already as well, cars are going to get slowly taken out of this race over time. There's going to be more attrition than just this. There's a time and a place here in I believe, it's Echo Park, Georgia, isn't it? Yeah, that's what the city's called.
I thought it was Echo Park City in the state of Echo Park.
Ah, yeah, very true. That's why it's called that. I mean, it always has been.
Now, I believe they're actually trying to pass a constitutional amendment that says that they will rename this country to the Echo Park states of Echo Park.
That sounds just about right, to be honest. Why not? I mean, we have our Echo Park restart zone, so we can have our Pledge of Allegiance to Echo Park, the Echo Park Constitution, the Echo Park Amendment. It's all going off there. I mean, that's all I can say.
Oh,
one thing that all Americans can agree on is Echo Park. Okay, so one thing they can all agree on. So they can have that.
You know, I actually had this idea at the dinner table earlier on, and this is honest, folks. I think we should sell sponsorship rights to Air Force One. Air Force One brought to you by Red Bull. Alrighty,
gives you wings.
Let's switch. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it gives you wings. Exactly. I mean, it'd be a good way to settle our national debt as well. We've got a battle for the stage win going on, though, involving Hoytsma, Hicksonball, McWhorter, Stone, Evie, Truel, Velasquez, Lauer. Lots of other drivers involved in this battle, I can assure you that much. How many of them are in a spot to win this stage, though? I think it may be a little bit lower than that. Coming to 5 laps left to go here in stage number 1. Hoytsma is holding on to the lead on that inside. You got the number 63 of Hicksonball looking to make something work as well on the high side. Those two racers looking to do as well as they possibly can here. Let's see who's able to get it done and who's maybe going to be a bit more challenged when it comes to trying to take this race lead. Of course, setup super important here. I want to try and trim out that car as best as you possibly can. I will look through to try and see what the other stats are at the present moment in terms of plate race winners, because there is one at the front of this field, and it is Lucas Hoytsma, who won the last plate race of the season at Talladega some months ago.
You're in the right place at the right time, and you take the push as well. It looks like he's taken well from Joseph McWhorter here. You could be online for a very, very good finish. 10 points ahead of the stage are quite possibly awaiting him in case something unusual happens. The outside line stopped working, and you could make a dive to the top as McWhorter, but you could also get hung out to dry.
Oh boy, you can see as we ride on board with Hoytsma, look at the throttle trace of that car. You know, people think that a plate race is just a matter of turning left from time to time and pinning your foot to the floor. No, you gotta lift a lot. You gotta make sure that the car behind you gives you a little bit of a bump. You know, it's part of NASCAR racing. You're gonna see some bump drafting all throughout these races. Always love to see the throttle traces of these plate races, seeing those drivers fluttering that throttle pedal all throughout it. You think, okay, yeah, keep it flat. No, if you keep it flat, you're going to be doing yourself a lot more harm than you will be doing good.
These are some squirrely cars as well. The other thing about these cars is if you push for too long, that engine explodes on you. So they're not quite cup cars that can take a push, a beating and a banging extremely easily. They have their weaknesses and they have their follies. You give one a bad push, it goes sliding and spinning everywhere. And I remember we caught Fast Fridays a couple of months ago, a wreck caused by someone pushing too much. I don't think the experience level of this field necessarily risks it, but it does limit you, even if you're aware of it.
Now, whenever I think of Fast Fridays broadcast, I think of the one that we just had earlier on this evening here at Maconi Entertainment, and also the one that we had at Indy a couple of months ago, which... Oh. Coming to the end of the stage now, the white flag going to be in the air for stage number 1. Who's going to be able to get the job done? Will it be your current race leader of Hoytsma? Will it be Hicksonball, who has some run on the high side? Let's see how he's going to try and manage the momentum heading off through this lap, and let's see if anyone's going to try and make it 3 wide as well. I have a feeling that number 57 of Stone is maybe getting a bit potentially impatient, not too sure. I don't think any cars on the high side though really have strong enough of a momentum and close enough of a gap to the number 97 of Lucas Hoisma, who's going to cross the line and win it here in stage number 1 at Atlanta. Lucas Hoisma is your winner at the end of stage number 1. He's followed in P2 by Bryson Hicksonball. A good stage 1 for him. A pretty nice stage as well for your P3 finisher at the end of it all. The number 73 of McWhorter is your P3 finisher at the end of stage 1, followed by Cameron Stone in 4th, Austin Evie in 5th, Charles Velasquez Jr. in 6th, Michael Prachek in P number 7, Hunter Trull in 8th, Matthew Boston Wheeler in 9th, Mason Lowry rounds at your top 10. So that's how it looks at the end of this first stage. We've got some pit stops starting, and let's ride with this for a little bit. We were thinking that the pit stops may be a little bit tricky, and let's see if anybody picks up any sort of speeding penalties. We'll have to touch back on those speeding penalties in a couple of moments' time. For now, though, let's just keep on board with these pit stops and see how these drivers are going to shake out.
Entry and exit's going to determine everything about how you're making up this field, but also the amount of fuel you got to save during these runs. That's going to be the biggest decider of how long you spend in the stops. It's a very big strategy on the super long races like the 500. Probably less obnoxious here, but still, every little difference you can get is what's going to really make the difference around there and get you out ahead. Missing the pit box there from Austin Evie. He's going to be miles off. He misses it again. He goes back. He's still missing it. Austin Evie,
no.
End of the line to you, sir. Charles Velasquez Jr. takes the lead out of pit lane.
Yeah, so Velasquez Jr. going to come out smelling like a bed of roses and all that. The 03 of Austin Evie, though, going to come out of the pit smelling like a bucket of horsemen, or Joseph McWhorter going to be slotted in second. We're going to cut to a quick commercial break. It is a rather thrilling race that we've got here at Atlanta. Stay tuned, folks, here on Maconi Entertainment tonight.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need, Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Back again here on Maconi Entertainment with race number 17 of the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series. It's Atlanta, baby, and we are expecting a good rest of this race. Just had the pit stop shake out. Let's shake through how everything worked out. Charles Velasquez Jr. came out in first, and you can see part of the reason why that is the case. 4.8 seconds stopped in pit lane. He had to have come in just for a quick little splash of fuel. Everyone else taking tires, they do have some allotted to them, and hey, as much as Atlanta may be a super speedway, you still want to put some tires on that race car throughout this race. And the top of those drivers who did have an extended run through pit lane was Joseph McWhorter, who spent quite less compared to some of the racers around him. Hoytsma at 14.4 seconds stopped in his pit stall, Hicksonball at 15.1. But that's how it shakes out here. Coming to the restart in a couple of moments' time in the start of stage number 2.
I'm trying to work out how much time Evie lost missing the pit box. It looks like less time. You spent less time in the pits than everybody else, which is unusual. I don't really know how the maths makes sense on that. It might have been the 3 of... no, it was. It was definitely the 3 at the front of the pack that went back and forth in the pit lane. One of those mysteries we just don't really have the time to work out, because here we go for a second stage of it all. Shorter than the first, of course, before we head into the long one at the end of the day.
Second verse, a little bit shorter than the first. The field approaching the restart zone. Who's gonna gun it first? Let's see. It's a drag race as they head their way back to the green. Velasquez Jr. gonna lead us back. McWhorter slotted in P2. Both of those drivers have one race win up to this point in this season. McWhorter's coming last time at Pocono. Let's see if he'll be able to keep that momentum rolling here at a far different racetrack. And let's see if he'll be able to keep that momentum rolling on the high side, which does not have a lot of faithful, but they just picked up a big one, the number 97 of Hoytsma to the high side.
Another clean start, pretty even lanes this time. We'll see how that runs out across the race. I'm curious about those no tires on Velasquez Jr. This isn't a track where your speed is going to be tied to your tires if you run at the top, but you do risk losing grip of the car. I think no sets on the first stop might be a good move. Get yourself some stage points, set yourself up for a good pit entry, and then probably take them on the next time. If he can keep that car under him for the whole distance, it's going to be very hard to get your way around him, and then see what happens on the third stage, obviously, as time goes on. It's interesting that no one else thought of the strategy at all, but that is where we are.
Yeah, that's the situation that we've got ourselves in at the present moment here at Atlanta. And we still got a whole lot of racing action left to go here this evening. The sun and the glare slowly but surely going to start bothering these racers as it dips below the horizon on lap 51 right now. These drivers get a bit more racy now than they have been in the earlier stages. It's Velasquez Jr. still leading that bottom lane. You can see the 97 of Lucas Hoytsma on that high side. He's the Pied Piper of that lane. The number 73, though, Joseph McWhorter, he's impressed me up to this point in this race. All 6 of these drivers, I nearly said all 3, all 4, all 5. No, all 6 of these races that we've got on screen at the moment. They've all been rather impressive up to this point, including the number 71 of Hunter Trull, which despite winning the Dash for Cash twice at, fittingly, the last plate race, Talladega, and the race following that of Texas, he's yet to go to victory lane this season, which I find to be a rather interesting stat, Howie.
I always see Hunter Trull, if he's having a good race, he's near the front and just doesn't quite make it. Something usually happens to him. He is capable of some amazing runs, but you do need to convert in a racing system like this, and that's the only thing we really haven't seen happen yet. Hoytsma getting right off that gas pedal to take massive shoves from Velasquez Jr. He's back in control of this field, and he's going to play it exactly like he used to, I think.
And looking through the plate races that we have had up to this point in time, 3 different race winners in all 3 of them. Daniel Llewellyn was able to take race number 1 of this season at Daytona. Ryan Strunk was your race winner for the second race of the season, the first one of this season at Atlanta, and last time out at Texas, it was Lucas Hoytsma, your current race leader, able to grab the checkered flag there. It's, you know, as much as you do compare it to the other plate races, there's no real direct comparison between Atlanta and everything, which is what makes this track such a hot seller when it comes to selling tickets for real-life races and attracting viewers' attention here in the sim. Atlanta just puts on some absolutely fantastic racing action. I'll be honest, folks, I was rather skeptical about this track when it first got brought into real life and as a result in the sim, but as I've seen this track age, it just provides such a unique form of racing that you just can't find it anywhere else, and that's part of the charm as far as I'm concerned.
I'm very uniquely torn on Atlanta because on one hand, I don't like what it represents. I don't like the move towards making everything a flashy plate race that usually has ridiculous results, and I get that it makes some money, but I really love that intermediate style of racing, but I watch every Atlanta race every year because it always puts on a show, and it puts on a show more than Daytona and Talladega do. They often become obsessions, and Atlanta finds a way to kick off every time. So maybe I just can't hate it for that. You know, I'm coming back and I end up loving what it brings. I would have done it to Texas myself, but I think the old Atlanta was a fantastic track. It's just that Texas needs a bit more, destroying orbit a little bit more, but it ended up out here. Maybe we'll get another one in Texas at one point, and then we'll start getting sick of it. Maybe they'll replace all of Dover with a super speedway next. You never really know, or with NASCAR, to be honest. They seem to be up to some unique stuff on the schedule.
And, you know, I heard that they were thinking of having a street race replacing the one in Chicago, whose contract runs out at the end of this current season, replacing that with a street race in the city of Philadelphia. Here's a fun fact for all of you, well before I got anywhere near the idea of thinking about being a broadcaster. Had the idea as a middle school student to pitch to the Philadelphia City Council the idea of running a Formula E race here in the city of Philadelphia around the sports complexes we've got down there in South Philly, which, based off how things were going at the time, would have been pretty much the only action going on there at the moment, because outside the Eagles, basically nothing was going on in terms of Philly sports teams, and hey, some things change and others stay the same. That'd be a rather interesting race. So a street race in the streets of Philadelphia, maybe one day, potentially, possibly. I'm not too sure if that will ever see the light of day. But for now, instead of having to worry about street tracks like we will in 1 week's time, we've got a plate race on our hands. We've got Atlanta, and we have got a top lane that is slowly but surely starting to fade away. I will say, though, Howie, as much as it has faded quite a lot at certain points in time, it's been a cockroach. It has been unkillable.
Yeah, if I was running it, I'd stick there. Like, I don't really care that I've fallen back a little bit now. I often find the high line to be a little bit more chill on Atlanta. I find that drivers are less likely to make dumb moves on you there. Some amateur drivers can't stick to the red line on the bottom and wash up, and you have to force your way under them. It's got quite this irritating quad oval layout. These drivers are a lot better at sticking to that line than some of the people I see in my truck races, though. Although, where have I just set the bar with that? My truck races, I mean, come on. But I'd stick up there, because quite frankly, as long as I'm just in a place that's decent now, I know a pit stop cycle's coming, and then, then we're talking a serious race.
Yeah, I think I'm either a couple of days or like a week and some change away from it being a year since I did my first broadcast here on Maconi Entertainment. First broadcast I ever did was a truck race at Pocono, and the longest green flag run we had throughout all of that was 2 laps. So, very happy to see the green flag runs that we've got going on here at Atlanta. Only 1 yellow flag for incident, 2 at all throughout this race. We're pushing midway through lap number 62, making some progress here in this second stage as well. The stage break going to be coming at the end of lap number 90. So these drivers do have slightly less time on their hands. Don't have to worry about any sort of green flag pit stops during this second stage. Come time for the end, though, when we do have a longer run to the checkered flag, may end up having to worry about that, because these drivers, they have been keeping it clean, really, with the exception of that race at Pocono last time out. These drivers have been keeping it super clean, and even that race at Pocono, it's Pocono. There's only so much you can do around a racetrack, which fits stock cars about as well as I fit into a size 2 shoe.
I mean, really, that was a decent race with just a little bit of drama at the end, but the sort of drama that I love to see. Honestly, I was just sitting there eating popcorn the whole time, and I gotta say, thank you for bailing me out. For some reason, I thought stage 2 ended on lap 65, which doesn't make sense. I just don't tell me that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. But for some reason, that's just in my head. Another bit of interesting NASCAR news, really, is that I was at the Euro Series race at Brands Hatch. Got to see Vicky Rudd's car run around, and I noticed on the door of a car in victory lane an iRacing contingency. I noticed it at the time, and I thought, that's a little bit strange. Like, why are they running an iRacing contingency on a Euro Series car? And literally yesterday, what did they just announce? It's Euro Series coming to iRacing. I don't know about the long-term health of the series, but I'll say it's a stock car road racing series built into iRacing. I think that's going to be cool, and I'm probably going to try it and then crash out really hard when I realise I can't drive this thing. They're about late model to ARCA in terms of their pace. They're not hard cars to drive, but I'm just a bad iRacer. But that is going to be interesting to watch and see, and I saw it coming. Let me tell you that.
That's going to be a very fun car. End up seeing that on Fast Friday's race at some point later on in this year. Once we get into season number 4 or season number 1 of 2026, whenever that may get introduced. Holy cow, we are now less than 2 iRacing seasons away from approaching season number 1 of 2026. Holy cow. That'll be my officially my 3rd year of doing iRacing broadcasting. Wowzers. And interesting fact that I think I brought up earlier on after I was doing another show this evening on another network, as Johnny Carson would say. Oh no, they're wrecking big time, heading their way off through 3 and 4. That's a big bit of wall contact. I think that was the number 29 potentially of Wortman dropping down like a rock. I believe the other green flag is still out, but let's take a look at this moment as they headed their way down the backstretch off into 3 and 4.
Trying to catch where it started. I think it was the 3 of Pratchett off the back into the 29. That's the car that sent Miles back. Trying to work out quite. That's Tanner Marty's car that was sent out and about into the wall and back a million miles. This is just sort of how this Xfinity car drives around here, I'm afraid. Like, it doesn't really stick. It doesn't really glue. It's actually the 71 that's slow. It's a check up then into the 29, and the 3 isn't ready for it.
Yeah, just a big stack up as they head their way into that section of the racetrack. Easy moment to have happen for sure, especially in plate races. But in all of that, it has allowed this front pack to just pretty much get completely single-filed out. So that top lane has now officially broken up. We still have about 20 laps left to go here in stage number 2 this evening on Maconi Entertainment. These drivers just looking to get to the end and in the quarter, looking to make something work on the high side. I'm not really sure if that's going to work out at all. If anybody will try and join along with him, he's alongside the number 06 and Matthew Boston Wheeler. I don't think we're going to see any sort of attempted maneuver between those racers, though, so it may just remain as is right now. So I will go back to the thing that I was going to raise before we saw that drama through 3 and 4. So my benchmark in terms of doing shows this year, because how you can attest to this, I've done a disgusting amount of broadcasts up to this point in the year. You know, I absolutely adore it, but I will say I've definitely become a frequent flyer when it comes to buying bags of Ricola branded cough drops. So my benchmark throughout this year has been the number 195, because after a broadcast last year on, I think it was December 6th, I worked out that I had done 195 broadcasts during the year 2024 up to that point. So that's been my benchmark up to this point in the year. And folks, tonight's broadcast here exclusively on Maconi Entertainment is my 195th thus far this year. And I don't even think we're at the halfway mark of 2025. So who knows? Let's see if I'll be able to get 400 by New Year's Eve.
I'm trying to find just the right sound for this. Here it is. No, there's no party horn sound on Discord. You get a golf clap. I really thought there'd be a party horn sound. I mean, I'll get that prepared for you. I'll let you know.
I'm not real sure if it's something to celebrate, though. I mean, it's gotten to the point my father has started to explain to members of our family that I'm in prison instead of being a commentator, because he finds me being in jail to be less embarrassing than doing what I do for a living.
Get yourself with that supportive, I guess. Wow.
No, I kid. He's downstairs watching this broadcast, probably with the thing of Crown Royal Peach Whiskey.
He's coming upstairs now. I can hear him.
Yeah, potentially. I just the slow trundle upstairs of Dad. Hopefully, if he is walking up here, I would greatly appreciate a new glass of water, because I ran out of water about 25
that's what we're doing now.
Yeah, like Uber Eats when it comes to glasses of water. You know what we could actually do? I feel bad doing that, because he just retired. So I'm going to pass it off to you, Howie. I want to see how quickly I can go down and get myself a new glass of water as we're still under this green flag racing action.
Well, this is exciting. Joseph McQuarter was left out to dry for quite some time on that top lane and dropped back like a rock, but he has a friend now. Matthew Boston Wheeler's decided to dip up and join him. 3 cars right in that top, and we're running out of time to make up places on it. He'll coming up on a lapped car very, very soon. Looks like that's Rory Collins. I think it's Rory Collins. There's a few packs back here, though. Ken Rahn sort of leads a few cars that are lapped down that were involved in that wreck and needed to take repairs. It's not Rory Collins up there, but there is a car on the high side. It's Rory Collins. As he gets lapped on the high side, and this is going to be a bit of a tight squeeze, the car's getting around him, but showing you that 3 wide can be done here. That top lane has grown bigger and bigger. We have another taker. The stage is approaching its end. Now Mason Lowry's in, and we have a lane back from nothing. That was my test to see whether Ron was back yet. It turns out there's a Discord microphone mute button that lets you tell this. Hoytsma and Velasquez Jr. still playing big pushes at the front, so big they're separated from every car behind by a country mile. That 03 of Evie struggled in the pit lane from our view, but has been able to dip himself right back into this race. That line reforms, but now that top, led out by Hicks and Barr, there have been enough takers and takers and takers. And from nothing comes everything. Everyone takes, and who betrays them? It's Joseph McQuarter. Joseph McQuarter dips down to the bottom, decides, I'm not interested anymore. I'm now going to hit the bomb, and I think that's cost him dearly. Only about 13 laps to go until the end of the stage. Look at me, I can count, and the complexion changed a lot. That's the 3 of Patrick, again, under the line. Just about gets away with it. How scary. Hey, Ron, I know you're back this time.
Yeah, you know, coming back after a 1 minute and 8-second trip to go downstairs and fill up my glass of water from the pitcher. I think it's a very good thing that I went down and grabbed this glass of water, because this racing is looking rather intense getting into crunch time here at the end of the stage. Now about 11 to 12 laps left to go here in stage number 2. Hoytsma leading the bottom lane. You got the number 63 of Hicksonball leading the high side, which has definitely formed up. I gotta say, though, and this is honest, I think that high side is the rather dominant line right now. The only reason why that inside still has any form of momentum is the heavy hitters you've got run there at the bottom. You got the 97, the 64, and right behind them, you've got that trailing P3 car, our pole sitter of Austin Evie. So really, even throw in the number 73 of Joseph McQuarter, your race winner Pocono last time out, got a powerhouse bottom 4, which is definitely being helped by the fact that as I've been going on the spiel, the top lane has really started to fall apart. So the commentator's jinx yet again striking more drivers, this time coming from me.
I don't think it's a matter of grip. I just think it's a matter of who wants to be there at the right time, and it was getting a little bit aggressive. It was sort of starting to become that lane I'd consider backing out of out of fear of my life. So they've taken that move and they've chosen to dip with it. This power couple up front, I think, is going to be very difficult to dislodge. Velasquez Jr. is going to enjoy these stage points and is just shoving Lucas Hoytsma every chance he gets in and out of the corners. Evie's not able to catch the back. That top lane's not able to catch it. They come out the pits close to each other again. They have a duo that's just set up to take this race.
Yeah, you've got some very good racers at the front of this field. They are absolutely the other forces to be reckoned with all throughout this race, and they're making that known at this stage early on, which I think that's a good strategy. Make your intentions clear. Say, hey, look, I'm in it to win it. I've got a good race car, and I know that I've got a good race car at this point. I don't have to worry about having to figure that out in the final 13 laps. I can figure that out with 113 laps left to go and still be all right. So these drivers, not with 113 laps left to go. Instead, they've only got 80. That's a halfway mark at this point. These drivers looking to have some fun this evening here on Maconi Entertainment, and to all of you tuning into this broadcast, we hope you enjoyed tonight's racing action. If you are, have to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss out on any of the racing action. Hoytsma still leading this race. You got the number 63 of Hicksonball leading the high side right now, which has begun to form yet again. Let's see if there's any takers to try and go up there.
Took a peek to see whether some of these drivers were in teams, and in fact, this 97 car isn't in a team with Velasquez Jr. It's in a team with Ralph Hutchinson, quite a bit further back in P8. The biggest team out in the field is Ace Moneymaker Racing. Cody Bird, Kyle Amon, Mason Lowry, Cameron Stone, and Bryson Hicksonbar. You might see them running together, and in fact, few of them running together as we speak. That 57 pushing Hicksonbar along the track. They've got coordination and communication, whereas Velasquez Jr. is largely running this one alone in his voice channel today. He's very much playing for himself, but he's choosing to make friends with some of the other drivers, I think, and that could play dividends in the back half of this race.
Yeah, what we usually see in these first two stages is these drivers just setting themselves up well. It's a mix of setting themselves up well and also learning a lot of different things. Learn how to tackle the end of this race, learn what their race car is doing, and learn how their competitors are feeling at this point in the race. If you have a good read on how your competitors are feeling, you're going to be able to do everything around them. You're going to be able to figure out, okay, they probably won't like it if I go for this move here, but they may be all right with it if I go for it in this way. There's certain things that you can do. The mental side of things is so important when it comes to racing. It doesn't matter whether you're running on the high banks of Atlanta Superspeedway, Atlanta Motor Speedway. Doesn't matter if you're running here. Doesn't matter if you're running at the Nürburgring Nordschleife, the Crandon Dirt Track, or the Slinger Figure 8 covered in a little bit of mud. you have got to worry about the mental side of things when it comes to the end of this race. And battling hard, oh, they're 3 wide right behind. That's McWhorter trying to stick it down the inside of the number 42 with the 03 of Austin Eve. He isn't bystander in that near collision.
Almost a collection to end the stage, but I think we're just about safe. Now, for the next 2 weeks, we are going very road central, it turns out, on our Independence Day, July 4th. Independence from who? I'm not really sure. Is it Chicago Streets? Then it's Sonoma, July 11th, and then we're on a good old, I would call it short track, Dover on the other side. So this is sort of the last trip to a super fast track we're going to get for quite some time. Daytona, August 22nd is the next time I'll be seeing a super speedway. And you can see the action now already. We're 3 wide, a row behind. Joseph McWhorter stuck in the middle of Austin Evie and Stone on the outside.
Oh, and here we go. 3 wide action. Not the first time we've seen it. Definitely won't be the last, but we are coming to the end of this stage. The white flag in the air for stage number 2. One more lap of racing action to decide who's going to get the job done. Hoytsma is still your race leader. He's got help with the number 64, Charles Velasquez Jr. right behind him, and Bryson Hicksaball leading that high side with assistance from the 73 of McWhorter as well. Down the backstretch for the final time. Is anyone going to pounce to try and take this stage win from Lucas Hoytsma, or is there going to be any sort of drama involving him? Let's see as they head their way out of turn number 4. It's going to be the stage win. It's a close call at the end, but Hoytsma going to win the stage. Velasquez slotted in P2. The yellow comes out, signifying the end of this stage. Hoytsma gets the job done.
Another pretty clean one. When I say pretty, it's cleaner than the first one for sure. And that's sort of the pace people go when they're taking it safe. I think it's only going to get more chaotic as it goes on, and our pace car flies through the field just before pit road. We'll try and get those results up. I wanted to wait for single file. It's Hoytsma over Velasquez Jr., Evie, Hickshambar, Hutchinson, McWhorter, Truel, Stone, Lowry, and Boston Wheeler for our top 10 points.
And I apologize if it just sounded like my mic blew up for a second. I banged my headphones against my mic stand, so if that came across the microphone, I apologize for that.
You'll never
we
be
do have some
forgiven.
pit stop starting the second round of pit. Yeah, no, oh my god. But we got some pit stops coming on right now. Let's see who's going to be the first to get out and away, and who may have to worry about potentially missing their pit stall. Yeah, again, we saw it happen with the 03 of Austin Evie during that first series of pit stops at the end of stage number 1. You see that number 68 of Woods still trying to repair that race car after the damage sustained a little bit earlier on. Nothing you can really do in a situation like that. Unfortunate, but hey, it's racing. Stuff like that happens. But as we see them running down the pits, who's going to be the first to get out and away? Looking pretty all right there for the number 97. Close quarter stuff with himself and Charles Velasquez Jr. 3 wide right behind. I think Austin Evie was able to right the wrongs of the stop before and exited out in 3rd. Joseph McWhorter will restart in 4th with a name that we haven't really talked about up to this point in the broadcast. Our old broadcast booth partner from a couple of weeks ago of Ralph Hutchinson, the driver of the number 8, exiting out, running at your top 5.
He's been consistently running quite well, but quite well in that fairly anonymous way. Now he's in a great position to capitalize. This run is going to require a pit stop at some way through, whether it's green flag or yellow, depends on the temperament of the drivers on the track. Let me just put it like that. About 37 minutes of green flag racing, though, with uninterrupted all the way to the end, and the moves are going to start getting crazier and crazier. I find that the cleanest Friday Night Lights races end in the most fireworks.
Yeah, that's usually how it goes. It's like, oh man, this race is running really, really smooth. These drivers are just want to get out of here early. And then that's when pure unbridled pandemonium breaks down. As we run on board with the pace car, look at the glare. It is so dark out there that you can't really see anything inside of the pace car. I wonder how that driver is actually able to see everything. And that's not an invite to fiddle with the camera so we can see inside of the pace car driver's skull.
I would never. I've never done that.
Again, some bad flashbacks to those Jeff Maconi's boot
He is
camp.
quite
Arkham
good
broadcasts.
at driving the car without his steering wheel, though.
Yeah, that is honestly very impressive. I think he's just driving that car around with the force potentially. That's my second favorite steering wheel on the entirety of iRace. Second only to the old VW Jetta, which if anyone has driven that, for a 100% bona fide fact that steering wheel on that car is not a steering wheel at all. It is not a wheel, so to speak. It is actually I think it's a hexadecagon. It's a shape with 16 sides to it. It is not round at all.
That's a biblically accurate steering wheel. I'm looking it up now. You've got me. I'm meant to be producing this. You've got me down the hole. I'm sorry. You shouldn't have done this so close to green. This is your responsibility to cover.
Oh yeah, that absolutely is. I'll cover the green. I'll cover all
God,
that
what is
stuff.
that?
And
It's a weird wheel.
yeah, it is a goofy-looking steering wheel on that race car. It looks like it was rendered on my dad's old Windows XP computer. But these drivers aren't running those Windows XP computers. Otherwise, they would probably have a screen. The green flag is back out, and the drivers are on their way. Let's see how this final stage shakes out at Atlanta this evening. It's Hoytsma leading us back to green. The 64 Velasquez Jr. He's now got a fight on his hands with himself and your P2 runner of the bottom lane, Austin Evie, our pole sitter in the 03 car. And despite that pit lane kerfuffle a little bit earlier on, Austin Evie's here to race. He is here to fight, and he's here to put that car in victory lane.
In this race, of course, it very much matters how the car is built. It's not a fixed setup series. It is an open setup series, and many drivers affiliated with different teams that bring their own setups to the game. So this is very much a whoever built the best for the situation is going to have a big advantage near the top, and that's why some of those cars are so consistently fast. Velasquez Jr. jumps right down a lane to cover off Hoytsma. McQuarter is left leading that outside lane.
And their way through turns number 3 and 4. It is still a rather solid amount of side-by-side racing here with 69, now 68 laps left to go. Charles Velasquez Jr. looking to return to victory lane for the first time since race number 4 of this championship at Phoenix. Now, if you could draw the similarities between Atlanta and Phoenix, they are rather substantial. Both tracks are paved with asphalt. So that is two very similar racetracks indeed. Let's see how your current race leader, if you can be able to return to victory lane tonight.
The time might fly while we're having fun out here on the track, especially if these drivers keep it clean around here. Only 67 to go with that stage and a half worth of racing, and there'll be some pit stop strategy in the window if you stay green, because that's only like barely over what the car could make. So splitting it halfway is going to be very different than using the tank to empty, and of course the tire delta isn't that significant. Interesting strategy from Velasquez Jr. to not take tires. Didn't really screw him. He had a really strong finish in that stage. And of course now it makes sense for everyone to take them here, but I wonder on these green flag pit stops who will and won't take those tires. It didn't seem to fail him.
Yeah, really, when it comes to tracks that are massive tire wearers, Atlanta really isn't one of them. It used to be in the old configuration, but here in the new one, when you think of plate racing and things that may get worn down, I usually put patience above tires, but that's just me. So I think these drivers won't have to worry about that too much between now and the end of this race. They will have to worry about making it to the end on fuel. We've seen it a lot in the Xfinity Series over the years, as that was nearly a crash as they had their way off through turn number 2. You can tell that was some close quarter stuff based off the fact I briefly sounded like a tornado siren. The lights are coming on here at Atlanta, and these drivers are starting to apply even more pressure to each other.
Almost a disaster, but I think they're trying to save that one in their system for later, I'll be honest. I mean, there's plenty more to come for them. Everybody just about keeping it together. Quite a big separation, though, has already opened up. I'm trying to work out how far back that has quite gone, because there's quite a few cars on the lead pack. I think it's down to Cody Bird here in the 13 car. He's the last car on this lead pack. It's not over for the pack, starting with Kurt Mills, but three attempts means he's going to have to make sure that pace is kept up, because any further back and it's over for that pack.
Yeah, at this point in time, these drivers are probably thinking more so about just being there at the very end of this race, not really worried about pushing the issue too much here. Because, I mean, frankly, what is there to gain? Sure, you gain a couple spots, you may get clipped into a YouTube short or something of the sorts, but really, do the benefits of something like that really outweigh the cons? Do the pros outweigh the cons? I don't think so at this point of the race. It is still, in the grand scheme of things, early on into this final stage. We've got a lot of racing action left to go. I say all this stuff about how it's not a good idea to go for a move, knowing fully well that these drivers will. They will make it work, partially to spite me, and mostly because there are some very talented racers behind the wheel of these Xfinity cars. But look, it's Atlanta. You really just want to be there at the end. Worry about those potentially green flag pit stops. Who knows? We could have a yellow that brings them down pit lane a little bit earlier than that without as much stress. I've always wanted to see how green flag stops would work here at Atlanta with that rather goofy pit lane.
You can sort of run in quite quickly for quite some time, and then all of a sudden it hits you like a truck. It's fun is subjective, but it's certainly interesting, let me tell you that. Lot of pushing from the 97 on the 64. He did this earlier, and then he took the lead back late in the stage in order to claim that win back. Either way, I think they've both proven they can work well with each other around this track. Hunter Truex on the back of that car, and then he's striking red in his eye. It took me a minute to wonder was my training paints working, but nope. He's running out in a car that looks just about as red as the others, and he's sitting up back, whereas McQuarter is the first to jump on that top lane. It always seems to be McQuarter that's taking that top lane to himself.
Yeah, Justin McQuarter, he has taken to that outside line like a duck takes to water. He has been just inseparable. I mean, we've seen him run down on the bottom lane, but as was said one time by the absolutely fantastic Slap Shoes, talking about the any sort of photo of Paul Menard smiling, it looks like he knows what facial muscles to use, but the act is still foreign to him. Seeing the number 73 running on the bottom lane just looks so strangely off. I think he enjoys that high side. He has the car to be able to run on that high side very, very well. If you're the number 73 car, though, are you going for victory? Are you trying to go back-to-back? I mean, hey, think of it this way. The last time that we saw Bryson Hixenball get back-to-back wins, before the last time that he did it, a couple of races ago, getting back-to-back wins at Nashville and Auto Club, we ended up seeing a different driver get back-to-back wins and join that multi-time winners club, and it was Adam Benefiel. McQuarter was able to win last time at Pocono and has a very good race car here at Atlanta, so let's see if McQuarter can maybe give us our third multi-time winner from this season. I have a feeling, even if it's not him, it may end up happening tonight.
I mean, he made some enemies last time he won. Does he want to do that again as well? Does he want to just... if you make enemies going into a playoff format, then I'm afraid you've got bigger problems awaiting you. Those playoffs creep up on you, and then they hit you like a truck. Let me put it like that. But maybe he doesn't need to worry too much about making enemies right now. Almost tandem drafting these top two cars at the front. I hope Hoytsma's watching those engine temperatures and keeping them clear. I presume he'll be getting a warning if those approach a limit, because those can be a real threat in this car. The track cooling off, the day getting later and later. We're 81 on the track temperature as it stands, and in time of day it's 8:37 p.m. with sunset due pretty soon.
And, you know, hearing about those temperatures makes me feel a lot better about the fact it's currently 64 degrees here. A very nice 64 in the city of Philadelphia. That makes up for the fact that it was 101 degrees earlier on this week. Are you kidding? I was joking earlier on today, in fact, that I'm happy to be a part of these broadcasts here on Friday for the simple sake that I spent most of this week at my doctor's office. They had to reform me back into a human shape after melting earlier on this week. So thankfully we're here and ready to rock and roll from the end of this race. Not a lot of time left to go compared to what we started with. Started with a big round 163 laps. Now have a big round 54 left to go in this race. So certainly making our time at Atlanta this evening.
And you saw the great iRacing day-night snap transition that we like to see when the time of day changes. It's ever graceful around here. Sun just about setting in the distance, and the night lighting will hopefully see us through to the end. As you can just see running around here, I must say it's quite a peaceful around here. It feels peaceful. It feels like these drivers are just sort of enjoying their time rolling around the track. I wonder if the peace will stay for this much longer, but for now everybody's focused and has their head in the game, and races like this become hard to commentate, so I'm amazed that we've kept ourselves with our trainer consciousness going on for too long. Think we can do another half hour of it?
I'm not entirely sure if I am being completely honest. What I do know for certain is that it looks rather beautiful out there here in the virtual skies above Atlanta Motor Speedway in the wonderful town of Echo Park, Atlanta, right by Echo Park City and Echo Park State, which is in the Echo Park States of America, which is on the Echo Park globe. So that's what we've got going on here. Lap number 52 right now that we're on, presented by Echo Park. Going to lap 51. Well, 51 to go, I should say, presented by Echo Park.
Only 51 to go is brought to you by Echo Park, though they couldn't afford all the laps. Maconi Entertainment, of course, bringing you all of the other laps. That's what we could afford. So, just so you know, that's how the breakdown, how that went. Just keep an eye on the 88. He was quite wobbly out of corner, and he's very much holding up that line now. I've heard the first call for a pit stop. Not quite sure who it is, but I get to hear the voice, and I've heard our first nomination. Someone's taking it early.
Yeah, but I think we do have a caller to come down pit lane. Will they be joined by anybody? That was a question that I've got going on in my head right now. Will they be able to enter the right pit as well? Because it can be a bit of a mind trick just going down the old pit lane. But, I mean, it's been this way for so long now in the NASCAR world, even though it just got changed in the sim. It would be a bit of a bad mistake to have. It's Ken Ron making that entrance in the number 33 car down pit lane. Did he enter the pits correctly there?
I don't see a black flag. I don't know when they count.
Gotcha. I was looking through, like, that pit lane time is rather short. I think
they count when you get the speed limit applied to you, and you don't get the speed limit immediately upon crossing the line. You actually get to run quite fast around the track, and then you get the limit quite close to entry. He's going to exit in about 40 seconds, which was on par for both stages.
Gotcha. So I'm thinking that was a very short run down pit lane for a rather lengthy pit lane here at Atlanta. So I'll have to keep tabs on that, see if there's any sort of black flags that come as a result of that moment. But back up in the front of the field, Charles Velasquez Jr. is holding on to the race lead. Hoisman slot in P2. Truel, McWhorter, and Evie round at top 5, and McWhorter still running solid with that high side. You know, as I said earlier on, he was basically inseparable, that high side. He's basically super glued to that top end of the track, which is good. It's good to be in a spot that you're comfortable at. But when we got pit stops going on, how terrifying is it to be on the high side and being like, oh, crap, I got to come down pit lane now.
That's a really early stop as well. I mean, 47 to go and you take it on 25. I guess it's good for fuel all the way to the end of the race, and tyres aren't the biggest concern, but I'm not really sure what you're achieving here by taking yourself out of the draft. You sort of need to do it with others, and I don't think we're going to see many takers for quite some time on that offer.
And plus with that as well, if we do end up in green-white checkered territory like we did at Pocono last time out, which, hey, it's a plate race we're running at, you can't necessarily rule out there being a green-white checkered. You'll be done for when it comes to something like that. So, I mean, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm a bit more on the cautious side. I would lean a bit more towards having some fuel for a potential green-white checkered later on. But again, that's just me. You know, very good reason why I'm behind the microphone instead of behind the wheel, and I can just tell you that much. So maybe there is some method to the madness. Personally, I'm a bit iffy on that strategy call. I'm sure you are as well, Howie. But who knows? Let's see. Let's wait and see for Ken Ron to back his way into victory lane by 5 laps. Well, we do know that we got 45 laps left to go. Velasquez Jr. is still leading it over Hoytsma, Truel, Evie, and McWhorter. Looking through the rest of the top 10, One driver who has dropped back a little bit, but is still in the discussion, 57 of Cameron Stone.
He certainly has sort of left his teammates, and now he's in the midst of the middle of the pack. It's not really where you want to be right now. He's off his teammates by quite some margin. But as long as he's in with a shout, then he can make the moves when it counts. He can maybe count on the track to clean itself up down the road. That's what I'm thinking.
We are at 43 laps now left to go at Atlanta this evening here on Maconi Entertainment. And hey, folks, if you're enjoying this racing action, how about you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss out on any of the racing action here for Friday Night Lights. Got fantastic schedules to look forward to as we get into the summer, officially now into summer here in the Northern Hemisphere for 2025. And I hope all of you are staying cool and staying hydrated. There are the heat waves that many of us are facing at the present moment, either in the U.S. or Allie, I even heard from you that there in Europe, specifically the UK, has had some.
Rory Collins, please, you're a lap down. Try not to wreck the field. He just about gets away with that, thankfully, without cause. But that was a little bit scary. And yes, we've hit about, at our hottest, we've hit about 91, which is sort of like, you'd think it ain't much, but I use the phrase, we don't believe in air conditioning. It's because it gets this hot for 1 week a year, and the maths don't add up unless you have a super mansion. So, another one. It's the 99 of Clayton Davis. He's hit the wall, gotten loose, and actually slammed right into that wall. That's unfortunate. Getting away with it about a course as well, but that's pretty much his race over as it counts, I think. Let's keep an eye on that.
Let's take a look at the moment. Oh, he got tapped and a nudge down to the turn. Bang, hits the wall. Oh, look at the 63 of Hicksonball. He nearly got caught up in all that. I wonder if there's any sort of damage on the front end of that race car. From that camera angle, couldn't really see if there was contact that was made, but certainly looked borderline there. He's still out there on the racetrack. Actually, no, there's a replay. My apologies here, folks. He's actually made that call to come down pit lane. But yeah, you can see contact with himself. I believe that was the 42 of Mason Lowry, unless I'm very much mistaken, as they headed their way all through turns number 3 and 4. Contact is made through the turn, and up into the wall he's going to go.
Yeah, and even a tiny tap in the wrong place, wrong time can deal a bit of aero damage that will probably slow you by a lot, if you get the reference there. I even tried to do the Australian accent. It looks like Hicksonball's car's okay from my perspective, so we keep running. He's actually even on the field, and you know what? These races are quite the equalizer in terms of pace of drivers. At least it takes skill, but it takes a different sort of skill, and we're not seeing Hicksonball really do all he can to get and stay up front. It's going to be a real challenge for him to continue the streak, but I think he's pretty much fine with that.
Yeah, I think he's quite content with the spot he finds himself in at the present moment. Also, breaking out Australian accents. If we started to do something like that, I would either break out my southern accent, or you'd have to commentate the rest of this race, Howie, with more of the Martian in the booth.
I mean, I was just doing the iRacing spotter for you. That was more my game was about.
Dude, I'm going to blow up the spotter stand.
I have a friend who had their car hit by a truck. And they've taken a little bit of wheel alignment and damage. And the first thing I told him was, looks like one of your wheels is out of alignment. You'll have less grip out there.
I've never found myself in a situation to use that, but if ever I do, I will maybe have to break that one out.
Next time you see any sort of someone take damage, tell them that reduced aero might slow them down on the straights. That will do.
Yeah, potentially, or someone hits a bun on their steering wheel to try and get a report. Looks like it got some damage in the midsection. It's usually how that ends up going. I think these drivers are very happy, though. They don't got damage on their race cars, and they are about halfway through this final stage. They've spent 36 laps on this 10. They got 36 laps left to go, and not seeing any more takers to come down pit lane. I feel like in the next, I would say probably about 10 laps, though, we're going to start to see the slow trickle of drivers come down pit lane, turn from that into a full-on flood.
Well, I think the window's going to be open now if you want to split the stage in half, but the key is just doing it with others And doing it with others probably means maybe make the car run to dry, because, that's the most likely time in which you're going to be able to get in and refill the car up to full. You'll want to get back on top of a draft train again so that you can keep up pace with others. And we see with the 33 of Ken Rahn, this is what happens when you don't have a draft train to help with. You just get stuck, and he makes it around the pack safely, but there's almost no race left in that car.
Yeah, and when it comes to lap traffic encounters on a plate race, especially one like this, where the turns, let's face it, they aren't the widest in the world. You head all through certain sections of a plate race with a lapped car, and if it wasn't about 10 o'clock at night for me, I would recreate the sort of feelings that go on whenever you're a lapped car, or a lapper catching up to some cars that you need to put a lap down on the plate race. But have it be known that it would be a guttural, loud, and absolutely terrified, internalized scream.
I think if something happens, you're going to make an external scream. I mean, I've made external screams at the end of races here that have gone terribly wrong, so I'm not kicking you out there. I'm just saying that that's how it tends to go when things get a bit crazy and freaky at the end of these races. Pit stop entry could be a cause of contention. League requires you to call out your pit entries, but still, I mean, you've got to slow the car down, get it on that bottom lane, keep it below the line, and hope you don't check out the field in the process. If this stays green, these packs are going to spread out a bit. I feel like I'm watching the iRacing Daytona 500 right now, though, with how peaceful this has been, which means that it's only going to end in one way. Yeah,
it's only going to end one way, and that is not very well. But who knows? Let's just see how the rest of this race goes. What we do know for sure is that the number 64, Charles Velasquez Jr., is your race leader. Hoyts Maslada in P2. Hunter Truel in that 71 car, though. He's been a rather strong contender throughout this race. Has spent a lot of it up at the north end of the field. And let's see if he can keep that momentum rolling throughout the rest of this race. It's been a race rather uninterrupted. Only had one yellow fur incident up to this point in time. So well played to a lot of these racers. They've been keeping it clean and smooth here at Atlanta for race number 17 of the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series. And to all of you tuning into this broadcast, if you have enjoyed it, how about you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss out on the racing action. With that solo plug out. See, the reason some people ask, why do you say that so many times on the air? I do it for one very good reason, and that is the boss man himself, Mr. Jeff Maconi, actually gives me a jar of boiled Georgian peanuts whenever I say that.
I mean, you saying that, it's a big reminder that, this race has really reminded me of the good old times back out in the park, where at the end of the day, every day I'd go out to the great park at Echo Park, of course, and I'd use some unsalted peanuts and hard-boiled eggs in order to feed the birds.
This joke will never grow old for as long as this sponsorship deal is in place for this track in real life. I hope all of you tuning into this broadcast are well aware of that. I will keep this joke going for as long as I possibly can. Velasquez Jr. is holding on to your race lead. Presently, Lucas Hoyts with slot in P2. Joseph McWhorter running at your top three at the moment. Rather close all throughout the front of this pack. I think these drivers are turning up the wick, and part of the reason why they probably are is down to the fact we're probably going to have a mass exodus of these drivers leaving the racetrack and coming down pit lane here in a couple of moments. We'll have to keep our eyes open and our ears open to hear/see whenever there's a pit call.
Unless you're a fuel-saving world champion. Don't think so. We've made it now the length of a standardized stage, which is, of course, a unit of measurement in the Imperial system, a NASCAR stage. As with all Imperial measurements, it's arbitrary and changes quite often. But that means we're getting quite close to the point where these cars are not going to make it anymore. We know they can make the full stage without any issue. We're going to have 26 to go. All these cars looking like they are going to save it for when the car is empty, so that they can get the best odds of latching onto the back of the pack and doing their dash to the finish, where we probably use 20 green-white checkers. And I'm using the commentator's curse on that one. I'm manifesting.
Manifesting 20 green-white checkers. I'm not even sure how I'd be able to commentate that. Here's the 15th overtime attempt. Let's see if they make it past turn one this time. Alrighty, so let's see how the stage is set with 25 laps left to go in regulation. Yet to see these drivers make that call to come down pit lane, but I have a feeling we will end up seeing it soon. These drivers have to worry about a pit stop between now and the very end of this race. A yellow, though, at this exact point in time, I think it would lift the green flag pit stop stress off these drivers' shoulders and replace it with yellow flag pit stop stress, which, let's face it, isn't too much better. You don't have to worry as much about speeding, but you do have to worry about a small little trip up costing you just bucketfuls of spots.
What could possibly go wrong? Yeah, the flood of black flags could go wrong. They could come and haunt you. Still not hearing calls for pit road. 24 to go. Time ticks on. I'm sorry, I'm not leaving you with much to go with there. I thought you'd quite like to have the break from talking, and I just give you one sentence and I'll leave you. So yeah. I'm going to run a bit more with this and say that top lane, Joseph McWhorter, he's still going for it.
Yeah, McWhorter's still running strong. That number 73 car, as much as he's sometimes been a little bit farther down than he is right now, I don't think he spent many lengthy points of this race outside the top 10, which I think speaks volumes about how well your frame of mind for a series like this can change just with one single win. I've seen it before. You have a driver who's a certain level, then they get into victory lane, and they immediately turn up the wick after being denied victory so many times, coming close to it and having good race cars but not able to get it done. When they finally break through and get that win, the confidence boost you get out of something like that is so strong that you will see these drivers put in just visually better results as a result of something like that. So look at the number 73 of Joseph McWhorter to maybe do that throughout this summer. The added benefit of being locked into the playoffs and maybe being able to throw caution to the wind ever so slightly can certainly help that, but just having that win in your back pocket can be a huge pep in your step as they head their way down the backstretch. Don't think we're going to have any volunteers to come down pit lane this time on.
We'll hear when they're coming, probably a lap in advance, and we'll report back as soon as we can. But the fuel mileage of these cars surely can't last forever. We're getting very close to the dot. Maybe they've discovered something we haven't in there. Maybe we've got a new material in there. Maybe get some pure gravium oscillators to power those cars and get it going. But no, instead, 52:20 to go. It's going to be a very, very short pit run here.
Yeah, this is going to be a quick burst to the finish for these drivers. Who's going to go into this quick burst of the end of this race with the least amount of stress? That is a question that I've got in my head. It is important when it comes to talking about green flag pit stops that we have to worry about the entry and exit in terms of speeding. Just have to worry about the pits period when it comes to speeding. And worrying about what happened earlier on to your current P5 runner of Austin Evie. Remember when he overshot his pit stall? That cost him a boatload of time. You don't want to have that happen, especially now, considering there's so little time left to go. Have that happen during the first pit stop. Yes, it's a kick in the shins, but you have enough time to be able to make it back. Now, on the other hand, if you have a pit stop on this final pit cycle, there's no coming back from something like that, really.
Yeah, Ron, I'm afraid your father has asked to have some of the peanuts saved to him. So you're deep in this hole now. Yeah, you're stuck down there now. So I'll pass on the command and we'll go with that.
See, he didn't necessarily specify the peanuts. He could be meaning the nuts and bolts and screws that fall out of my head every single time I'm on one of these broadcasts.
You're too hard on yourself. You've managed to keep this going. I mean, I don't know what else I can tell you. I trust you. I trust you on these shows. I'm the one that doesn't trust myself on these shows, so that's how it goes. I noticed, by the way, McWhorter's lost the lead of that front lane. Looks like the 8 now of Ralph Hutchinson's getting pushed down it. And now I think we might have to see one more taker. Someone else might take to this top lane and decide this is my way to go to finish this race. But with single file, with 17 to go, the cars are holding on for their dear life. I'm still not hearing the pitting call. I wish I knew the lifetime of these cars, but it's a long one.
Yeah, now I gotta wonder what sort of mindset some of these racers are going, oh boy, that's McWhorter blinking in out of existence. He briefly hit 88 miles an hour coming out of the turn, but thankfully, after going for a quick trip back into the Neolithic period, he has rejoined this race and still slid right behind Ralph Hutchinson, the number 8 car. Still blinking out, though. That's not very encouraging if you're the number 73 driver. But the saying, keep your friends close and your enemies closer, how accurate do you think these drivers are going to try and keep that to in terms of their performance at the end of this race? Are they going to try and do that? Or are they going to say, you know what, you're my teammate, I'm going to keep close to you? Or you're a driver who's not annoyed me up to this point of the season, I'm going to help you out as long as you help me out. You start to see teammates and pseudo-teammates always form. Dale Earnhardt Jr., one of the biggest team players in the history of modern NASCAR, very, very nice teammate, pretty much everyone has always said about him. He always said that he hated teammates on played races. So I feel like teammates aren't necessarily going to be the ones that share a team name with you. They will just be the ones that share the same agenda and the same plan to get that agenda at the end of this.
And these top 2 drivers are not teammates, in fact. At 97, he might take the second, or he might just decide, screw it, I'm going to go for it. Velasquez Jr. is running out on his own in his Discord channel out there. So he's been leading this field excellently the whole way around the track, but this might not last forever. I still can't believe we haven't seen pit takers here. We have 13 to go. We're reaching the end of the stage. Maybe these cars can make it. Maybe. I've been misled this entire time. Still no takers this time around. This has been a challenging race to commentate on, I'll be totally honest, the whole way through, which is surprising for Atlanta, which is typically a show of all sorts of kinds. I guess we decided today that we're just having a very different one. I mean, can you stop with 12 to go? If you have to, you can. That's just unusual.
Yeah, a quick little splash and dash at the end of something like this. I wonder if these drivers have just been doing enough fuel saving. You know, I said this earlier on as we were riding on board with some of the leaders. Even if you're at the front, you're not spending the whole lap flat out. So you are doing a little bit of lifting, and as a result, a little bit of fuel saving. I haven't really had too many yellows, though, throughout this race, so I'm not too sure how much sort of fuel saving these drivers have been able to achieve up to this point in time. Rory Collins has made that call to come back down pit lane, the number 39 car. Ran into some difficulties a little bit earlier on, and I wonder if these difficulties have now continued. He stopped in his pit stall. Doesn't look like he's going up on jack, so I think that's either for fuel or any sort of penalty. It being the FLCC World, 17x is a limit, and based off some of the incidents we had a little bit earlier on, would not be shocked if some drivers have gone close to or even usurped that number.
I mean, Voney really had the one big wreck, and it's an instant DQ, so I wouldn't count it quite there. But he is 14 and a half seconds in the pit lane. That's a full complement of tyres on that car. Next taker, it's Joseph McWhorter. He's doing it alone. This is going to be an interesting way to finish out this race.
And I wonder if that will be the trendsetter maneuver for the number 73 driver. Will anybody else follow in suit, or are they just going to take it easy and calm between now and the end of this race? 9 laps left on the board. McWhorter now in pit lane, and yeah, I think we may end up seeing some more drivers make that call here soon. Let's see if there's any more breakaways. Nope, doesn't look like anybody's going to be coming down pit lane this time. Bye! As that's a 57 of Cameron Stone, nearly up into the wall. He was in the wall, heading his way through 3 and 4. That top line, though, is starting to form again. You can see it's now the number 71 of Hunter Truex leading it. We're flaring the action up yet again. That pot is starting to boil up one more time.
You can see in the body language of these cars, they're getting restless, they're getting impatient, and they're moving around a whole lot more. I'm trying to check who else is taking in the pit lane. No major takers this time around. We keep running. It's going to be 7 to go. Up in the wall, the 8 car on the outside. Just about gets away with it for now, but Ralph Hutchinson off the face of the planet.
Yeah, Ralph Hutchinson has been He has been running good up to this point, but as a result, that will drop down a little bit. Currently slot in P13 is stuck me on a battle involving the number 98 and the 71 of Deech and Schul, respectively. At the front of the field, one driver who's really caught my attention is Charles Velasquez Jr. Start up towards the front, still running there. He's got Lucas Hoysma run right behind him. Never mind, running on the outside of him. Hoysma trying to pounce and form something on the high side. Will that work, though? Will anybody join him?
Now's the time to make the move, but if it happens solo, what's really the point? At the same time, if you don't make that play near the end of the race, you don't think about that top lane, what are you doing either? That 97 losing pace in the corners. I think maybe he's trying to join on this second line that starts with the 42. He's wobbling out of line, though. I wouldn't trust the drivers up there with my life if I depended on it right now. It's just not going to help you out in the long run of this race. We have 6.5 to go around here, and there's not enough takers.
Yeah, there really is not. Man, if it were me, sure who I would see. Oh, boy, that was the 06. That was Matthew Boston Wheeler making that call to come down pit lane. Thought he was going to get turned. If we do have a driver sputter and run out of gas down the back
there are drivers trying to make it, by the way. I've just heard on the radio there are drivers trying to make this on gas.
If you do run out of fuel heading down the backstretch and you get hit, that would be the game-changing yellow. That's exactly how I could imagine that happening.
And this is going to be very interesting about whether drivers could make it. You really want to be further back, and that's Velasquez Jr. jumping out of line. Then first, you don't get to save very much. You're out of draft. Now you're going to have to hope for something to go wrong on this pack, because if anyone's able to hold on all for the next 3 laps of this race perfectly, they've played the miracle game. 3 wide, huge gap opening up. The 97, he might be running out. Look at how much Lucas Hoytsma's dropping back.
Yeah, Hoytsma, he is losing out on a lot of speed.
I can hear that engine sputtering.
And there we go. He pulls down onto the apron. He's going to have to come down pit lane. He is joined by the number 54. We are getting the mass exodus of drivers making that call to come down pit lane. Austin Evie is now the beneficiary of those stops. Currently holding on to the lead. You've got Mason Lowry on the high side. He's leading that pack. And look at the 3 car there of Prachik, my apologies. He's going to maybe think about, I may be able to win this race. They're coming to the white flag this time by. Let's see how it works down the backstretch for the final time running in this race under green flag conditions and not under the white, heading their way around turn number 3 and 4, I should say. The white flag going to be in there. One more lap of racing action here at Atlanta, and it's Mason Lowry in the 42 car, the king of the high side, and you've got the 03 air pole man of Austin Evie holding on to the inside. 2 drivers looking for their first wins this season, but only one of them is going to be able to back their car into victory lane. More drivers pulling down onto the apron. That's Truel. He's out of gas. The 03 car not having a lot of speed down the backstretch. He pulls alongside the 3 and 4. Here we go. It's going to be a drag race out of turn number 4 at the end of this race. Going to be a photo finish right at the line, and winning it all is going to be Lowry gets it done.
How did Lowry get that one? I just heard, by the way, Michael Dietrich coming after you, buddy. Yeah. No, final results in. Evie's taking it on the stripe. 0.012. Wait, I'm going to work this one out. The drivers are saying it's Mason's. I think it's Evie's.
Oh,
It is Evie's.
Austin Evie going from the pole position into victory lane, definitely in a rather roundabout fashion here at Atlanta, but he was able to get it done. I was thinking that it may have been the 42s. It looked close. Our timing was a little bit confused. It gave it to Evie, then it gave it to Lowry, then it gave it to Evie yet again, and I think that final result is going to stick. Let's take a look at this replay as they headed their way through this final lap. That was at turn number 2, and that's what set the scenes for it all. You can see a bit of assistance on that high side, but you got some rather aggressive bumping going on there. I just don't think that high side has enough momentum for these drivers to be able to get that run up into the start-finish straightaway. I think that's just about what happened there, as we'll take a look at this replay. And I mean, either way, regardless of how you slice it, a brilliant race here tonight on Maconi Entertainment. But I believe your race winner at the end of it all is going to be the 03 car of Austin Evie. Let's see this run up to the line.
It's Evie by a whisker. Let's see if I can pause it on the frame. That looks like it'll be it. Can I get a better shot? Yes, I can. That's Austin Evie's on the line as the field comes flying by.
So Austin Evie going to be your race winner at the end of tonight. As I said, going from the pole all the way into victory lane, a rather roundabout way, but he spent a lot of this race at the front of this field, and frankly, it is a well-earned first win for him here this season. He is tailed by 12 thousandths of a second by Mason Lowry, finishing this race in P2. Michael Prachik will round out your top three fittingly in the number 3 car. Cameron Stone finishes in 4th. Bryson Hicksonball rounds out your top 5. Cody Bird in 6th. Ralph Hutchinson in 7th. Tanner Marty in 8th. Cliff Mullins in 9th, with Tim Phillips rounding out your top 10.
Remarkably green to the end. Kirk Mills makes it on field. So does Michael Deach, Daniel Llewellyn, Hunter Trill, and Brian Wortman made it on the lead lap, but he stopped. Drivers that couldn't quite make it on field: Lucas Hoitzma, Timothy Cook Jr., Matthew Boston Wheeler, Joseph McQuarter, and Velasquez Jr.
And then looking right behind them, we have got the likes of Rory Collins in P21, Ken Ron in P22, Steve Benjamin in 23rd, Clayne Davis in 24th, Nathaniel Pollard in 25th, Noah Woods in 26th, and Jason Taylor, the league race controller, Class 10 in 27th from the Virgin Islands. How about them apples? But I gotta say, it is feast or famine for the two drivers in the same Discord chat of Austin Evie and Noah Woods. Woods, one of the first drivers out of it. Austin Evie being able to burn it down. That's his first race win of this season as well. Some absolutely brilliant stuff for the driver of the 03 car as he runs his way off into the grass, burning it down over the Quaker State logo. I think we're going to cut to a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with some interviews potentially before we wrap things up and look forward to that Chicago street race in 1 week's time.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need: Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
A race that went down to fuel mileage, decided on the path of Austin Evie, who takes home the win. We'd like to talk to some of our top 3 drivers as we just wait for them to make their way into the motor coach. One after another, we have Patrick, we have Kyle Amon, who we're probably not talking to today. Can I drag Evie out of his independent team challenge? Do you think he's okay with that?
Yeah, I usually wait for them to end up in the infield care center chat here in the full length challenge.
That means I'll leave you with Michael Patrick first, RP3.
Yeah, I think we'll drag him into the commentary booth. Michael Patrick, welcome into the booth, and well done on the P3 finish at the end of this race here at Atlanta. How about you talk us through that roller coaster ride of an evening?
I don't even know where to start. I was hoping in that last stage that more people were going to run out of fuel than did. I was just barely good on my laps. I think I only had half of a lap left when we crossed the stripe. Yeah, when I would get out of the draft and try to make my way forward, I would lose even more. So I just had to stay behind somebody and pray I didn't run out.
I mean, it didn't run out at the end of it all. You're able to make it all the way through to the fall of the checkered. I want to ask you about how tense this race was behind the wheel, because it was rather tense for us in the commentary booths. I can't even imagine how it was for you behind the wheel.
I feel like I'm sitting in a furnace. I'm sweating, shaking. I was gripping the steering wheel. I heard one of the guys say right there towards the end that his foot fell asleep, and I couldn't feel my foot for probably the last 20, 30 laps.
And looking ahead, we were kind of joking about this a little bit earlier on in the broadcast. Rather interesting set of back-to-back races that we've got. We've got Atlanta here this evening, and then going to be switching it up with the Chicago Street Race in 1 week's time. So first question, going to be out there on the racetrack for that? And second question, what are your thoughts heading off into it?
I'll be there. I'll probably be towards the tail end of the field. The street course and Sonoma are probably my two worst road courses in this car. I'm looking forward to when we get to Watkins Glen versus the next two, but as long as everybody, races like we normally do in this league week to week, it shouldn't be too bad.
And I'm certainly looking forward to that race in 1 week's time. But Michael, we'll let you give any thanks or shouts out before we let you go and celebrate this podium here tonight.
Just give a shout out to my buddy John, who couldn't make it tonight, and my kids if they're watching.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, thank you very much for joining us here in the commentary booth, and congratulations on the P3 tonight here at Atlanta. Looking forward to seeing you out there at Chicago in 1 week's time.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
And that right there was our P3 finisher of Michael Pratchik. And Howie, I will let you have our P2 finisher of Mason Lowry.
Mason Lowry, P2 on a very, very fuel-dependent race. You're running around the middle, but came out on top. Talk us through it.
Yeah, we kind of figured. Bryson on the radio said, as soon as we got out of pits, save fuel. So, clutch around a couple laps under caution, and we kind of just made a decision to head back to about 15th and ride around and try to save. And we were starting to do the math and figure the guys that were out front, weren't going to be able to save a lot. So try to make a late surge, and the top line cleared up, and we just kind of scooted through there, man.
How was the middle of that pack feeling throughout the race? Because there were some tense moments in a race that usually stayed pretty green.
Yeah, there was a couple of lap cars on the outside, a few scary moments where they kind of cling off the wall and threaten that middle line, and some late blocks from late lane changes from the bottom to the top and the top to the bottom. So it was a stressful race because the bottom was definitely where you wanted to be, and the top kind of stunk. But it just, the runs, I didn't feel like they were big enough, and I didn't feel like we could pass enough. But somehow we were able to make it through there and get second.
And finally, before we let you celebrate in the motor coach, do you have any other shout-outs or thank yous?
Just all the team guys, Bryson, Cody, and Kyle Ammon spotting for us tonight, and a little teamwork with a good friend Cameron Stone pushing me all the way through there.
Well, that's a P2 for you on a tricky race at Atlanta. Hope to see you again soon.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys.
And that takes us through to our race winner, I think, Austin Evie.
Yeah, and Austin Evie now joining us in the commentary booth. Austin, welcome in and congratulations on the win here tonight at Atlanta, keeping the streak alive of 4 different winners of the 4 different plate races we've had up to this point. So happy to talk us through this wacky race here at Atlanta.
Yeah, man, it was a good one. Definitely was a good race for me overall, so I'm definitely happy about it.
I can imagine you're quite pleased backing that number 03 car into victory lane for the first time this season, and doing so in a rather tense fashion towards the end with the whole fuel game and all that jazz. I want to ask you about the nerves right towards the end of this race.
Yeah, it got pretty intense. I was talking to my spotter the whole time, and we kind of knew that 2 or 3 of the guys in front of me was going to have to pit. So that whole last run, I was basically only running 3/4 throttle and saving, and it just worked out.
And I want to ask you as well about being able to get that car into victory lane. It must just be relieving to have that victory now here for 2025.
Yeah, for sure. The last several weeks, it's basically been stage points or get a win, and just it worked out. So we're definitely happy about that.
I think I have every right to be, man. That was a very well executed drive tonight. And looking ahead now to next week, Chicago on the street course. That is just about as far removed from this track as you could possibly get. I don't think there is any bigger of a departure in the NASCAR world if we could possibly try. So, Chicago on the street course in 1 week's time. What are your thoughts heading off there?
Here recently, I've actually started running a lot more road course racing, so I'm actually looking forward to it. And I haven't been with these guys at a road course, so I'm pretty excited to see how it goes. But yeah, I think it'll be good.
And I'm looking forward to that broadcast here in 1 week's time, and keeping my fingers crossed that y'all be able to put on some absolutely fantastic racing, as usually is the case there. But Austin, we'll let you give any thanks or shouts out before we let you go and celebrate this victory tonight.
Yeah, man. Just wanna thank my guys at P1 Racing and my main sponsor on the car, Budweiser. Yep.
There we go, man. I'm sure maybe cracking open some Budweiser after that race win, and you certainly earned it at the end of tonight. Austin, thank you for joining us here in the commentary booth, and congratulations on the win here tonight.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And that right there was Austin Evie in the 03 car, your winner at Atlanta this evening. And looking ahead now, Howie, Chicago, 1 week's time. As I said, about as far removed from this track as you possibly could in terms of two racetracks on completely different ends of the spectrum.
It's a road course fiesta down the line, and it sure is going to be quite a bit of fun and a quite a change of pace. Sonoma right after as well. So we're certainly going to see some unique racing on the track. It certainly will bring out some new dominators, or maybe even the classic coming back. The best control of these cars. It's some proper stock car road racing.
And looking ahead here on Maconi Entertainment, we have got a lot of racing action for all of you to look forward to over the next couple of days. Tomorrow, you'll be able to see the action at this exact same racetrack with the full-length Cup Challenge. Some of the drivers that you see out here going to be making their appearance there as well tomorrow evening. Door-to-Door Sim Racing League will also be running at this exact same track on Sunday night. On Mondays, you can catch the action from the weekly Strength of Field race for the Formula 1600s. Going to be running this upcoming weekend at the Red Bull Ring, so that is going to be a truly festive race. You'll be able to catch the action from this series at the Chicago Street Course in just 1 week's time, and gives you a very good reason to subscribe here to Maconi Entertainment so you don't miss out on any of the racing action. But for tonight's broadcast, I think that will just about do it. So for myself, Ron Mullins, and Howie Burrows working the comms and the cams with me on tonight's broadcast, I say thank you all so very much for watching this evening's coverage on Maconi Entertainment. And